In Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Savitri's yoga is the subject matter of Book 7. In the first two cantos of Book 7, Sri Aurobindo establishes the background for her yoga, starting with the Savitri in the role of a grief-stricken wife, and what adds to her grief is the fact that she has foreknowledge of the impending tragedy. Nobody else in the family knows about it, neither Satyavan nor his parents, and to save them from the misery of this foreknowledge, she doesn't want to share it with them. So in this grief-stricken state, going about her daily duties like an ordinary person, she is just counting the days till that tragedy strikes. Being in the human form, she has more or less forgotten why she came to the earth for, and she is behaving as if she is just an ordinary person who is just worried about her husband dying in a very short time. And therefore, in Canto 2, we find that she needs a reminder, and that reminder comes in the form of a voice to tell her what she is on the earth for. And it's not just a reminder, it's a bit of an admonition telling her what sort of a report shall she be able to make once she goes back. Does she want to go back without accomplishing the mission for which she came to earth? And through this admonition, this voice puts her on the path of yoga. By the end of Book 2, Savitri realizes that ignorance still takes too large a place in her, and therefore she embarks on the path of yoga. The yoga of Savitri actually begins in Canto 3, where once again a divine voice guides her and tells her that she should find her soul. And she is made aware of the fact that she is an avatar, and yet why she should find her soul more or less the way an ordinary human being would if he were on the path of yoga. The voice reminds her that although she is an avatar, she is the divine in human form, she should look for her soul the way a human being would. That in fact has been the role of all the avatars. Once they have assumed a human form, they have taken on all the failings and weaknesses of human beings and behaved as human as possible, except in those few select moments when it became necessary for them to reveal their true nature. And this is something which this voice tells Savitri in a few beautiful lines. Just read some of them. Book 7, Canto 3, page 488. As man disguised, the cosmic greatness works and finds the mystic inaccessible gate. So this cosmic greatness is disguised as man. So as man disguised, the cosmic greatness works and finds the mystic inaccessible gate and opens the immortal's golden door. As the cosmic greatness finds the mystic inaccessible gate to the unknown and opens the immortal's golden door, what does man do? The real man, the man who is not the avatar, man human follows in God's human steps. So the avatar provides the guidelines, following in the footsteps of which man can also work towards the discovery of his own soul. Savitri starts this journey of the soul by going through the body, the emotions and the intellect, the three surface manifestations of the soul, and as she goes through these, she discovers that the body, the emotional part of the being or the vital, and the intellect or the mental part of the being, each one of these three is in fact a manifestation of the divine, but there are other distorted manifestations, but there is the soul behind them. However, the journey of the soul does not stop here. Then she goes through the various worldly setups, the worldly frameworks in which man has tried to look for God. And she goes through the different types of societies, which in fact Sri Aurobindo has talked about in much greater detail in the human cycle, the type of stages through which human societies pass in cycles again and again in their ascent. And the first world through which she passes is the world of conventions, including that of conventional religions. Now the strong point of these societies, this type of world, is its stability, and that is what one of the sages in this world tries to tell her. But she says she is trying to create a new world, and is therefore not interested in this stability, and she moves on, and then she reaches the world which is dominated by reason. Once again she finds that reason has limitations, but those who live in this world of reason have a certain sense of security which comes from the smugness, which is in a way no different from the type of stability which those in the in the world of conventions enjoy. She finds that in the world of reason, once again there is some sort of stability which comes from the smugness, which is not really very different from the type of stability that those in the era of or the society of conventions enjoy. And therefore she moves on from there and reaches the world of subliminal greatness. This is the world which is dominated by social reformers, philanthropists, humanitarians, revolutionaries, and so on. And she finds in this world one inhabitant who guides her on the world's winding highway to its source. And one might guess that this one inhabitant in that world who guides her to this path is Sri Aurobindo himself. And as she walks on this path, she finds that the path keeps getting narrower and narrower, and finally it dwindles into a very narrow path. The path of yoga is narrow, Churasya Dhara, as the Upanishads say, and that is what she discovers. Her journey for the discovery of the soul continues, and now she comes across the triple soul forces. The surface manifestations of man, the body, mind and intellect, are manifestations of the divine. While they are manifestations of the soul within, they are such distorted manifestations that there is a strain created because of the gap between the soul and these surface manifestations. And this strain generates those forces which impel man to once again seek the divine so that he can return to his soul, return to its source. So the strain that results from the gap between the soul and its surface manifestations, the body, mind and intellect, leads to the generation of those forces that tend to bridge this gap, and these forces are tamas, rajas and sattva. Now each one of these has a divine aspect, and yet each one of these is liable to perversion by man, and therefore none of these in fact adequate in the discovery of the soul. And therefore in the next canto, in canto 5, Savitri goes beyond these three soul forces and actually succeeds in finding her soul. That is, she has to go beyond these three gunas, triguna atit, she becomes, and she discovers her soul. Now the discovery of the soul by Savitri is in a way the culmination of the process of yoga, and in the traditional sense she could perhaps stop here. However, in terms of Savitri's mission, this is only a good beginning, as Sri Aurobindo says, one man's perfection can still save the world. So it is just one man's perfection, but at the same time in the creation of the new world that Sri Aurobindo has visualized, this is still an important step, because one man's perfection can still save the world. Now in the next canto, canto 6, we find that Savitri goes further and gets the experience of the all negating absolute, which is an important step after the overmind, the golden lid between the overmind and the supermind. And while she is in this state, she finds a justification for the refusal of the ascetic. The ascetic who refuses to see the divine in material manifestation. To him, all what matters is the one ultimate reality, because he has seen that there is the one in all, the one that is invisible, the one which is a sort of a nihil, the negative absolute, which is behind all that is manifest, and therefore since that is the ultimate reality, what we see is an illusion and not worthy of interest. And this becomes a sort of depressing for Savitri. because her whole mission was to transform the world, and if the world itself is an illusion and what matters is what is invisible and not what is manifest, then her mission loses its meaning, and therefore it's somewhat depressing for her. But towards the end of Canto 6 we find that she moves on and goes beyond this absolute negative or the negative all negating absolute and travels from an endless no to an endless yes, that this is also divine, this is not divine, that is not divine, in the sense that it is not fully divine, it's a distorted manifestation, and yet this is divine and that is also divine because it is a manifestation of the divine and it has the divine essence in it. As Sri Aurobindo puts it, the world is but a spark burst from its light. From that light of the infinite, the world is but a spark burst. So this world is nothing but a portion, an emanation of the same. Then from here Savitri goes further in Canto 7, and here there enters into the picture a traveller from the cosmic breath. And once again one might guess that it is Sri Aurobindo himself, because now the time has come to take her to the ultimate, the supramental consciousness. And this traveller comes at just the right time, because as the poet says, in her the unseen, the unknown waited his hour. So the time has come for which the unseen, the unknown had been waiting all along, and once she has this supramental realization, she gets the spiritual experience in which negation has no place. There is no place for negating the presence of the divine even in the manifest. So now she has seen not just the one in all, but also the all in one and the all as one. So we find that like Ashwapati's yoga, Savitri's yoga also goes beyond the traditional yogas. It goes beyond the usual siddhis, although she does experience many of the siddhis mentioned by Patanjali in Raja Yoga. It goes beyond personal salvation, and it breaks through the barrier, the golden lid, which separates this overmind from the supermind, and she reaches the supermind and does not really intend to stay there, because her mission is to use her realization for transforming the world.